Editing software requires massive amounts of processing power that my current build is just not up to the task. That all changes today. Welcome to Quantum Nerd. About a decade ago, I built what I thought was the ideal budget gaming machine. Later, I wanted to play VR by upgrading the CPU and graphic card as well as the air cooler, but again, under a small budget, and in no way ahead of its time. Since I started my YouTube channel about 4 years ago, I only edited about 10 to 20 minutes with just footage with no special effects and with just basic text overlay. So as the years went by, I wanted to do more to add to the experience of a pro YouTuber to provide better content for my audience. Thus growth, and in doing so, I didn't take into account how much this will impact my editing software, thus hindering any further enhancements to my rendered video. The CPU would top off at 100% while scrubbing through raw footage and rendering that will eventually cause the program to lag and ultimately crash, losing my progress and starting all over again. This heavily discouraged me from uploading frequently and publishing my videos. In order to overcome such a huge obstacle, serious changes had to be made if I were to commit to the channel and to provide promised content. And indeed, I will. We'll start with the motherboard. Priced at $129, I give you the ASUS ROG STRIX B450F gaming motherboard. This is the AMD AM4 type that will be compatible with our processor, which we will go over in just a moment. This board features a pre-mounted I/O shield for easy placement, dual NVMe M.2 up to 64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 3 rear 3.1 USB Gen 1 and Gen 2 types, along with 2 2.0 ports. Rear I/O also includes a USB 3.1 Type-C Gen 1 port and an HDMI display for your monitor, or a DisplayPort connection if you so wish. You got your normal output for your audio and your input for mic. Next we have our RAM, the CORSAIR Vengeance RGB Pro, priced at $189.99. We have 4 8GB, bringing us up to a total of 32 gigabytes of memory. I guess I should name this our new RGB fill, since everything is all RGB, right? Am I right? And we're also going to start with our Thermaltake. That's going to have a lot of things to do that fall over, just like how that did. So that leads us to the Thermaltake Toughpower Grand Series power supply, priced at $113.97. Also with the RGB aesthetics that we're looking for, and it also supplies a 10-year warranty. And that's an awesome thing to have because, you know, power supplies, they can sometimes break in the first year or two. The power supply comes with a 24-pin main power connector, a ATX 12-volt 4+4 pins, a SATA 5-pin, 9 of those to be exact, a PCIe 5-pin times 9, and a floppy adapter, which I don't understand why, but it has it. So the reason why I want to replace this is because I also have been hearing a buzzing sound with my current power supply. Quite annoying actually, and to match the RGB aesthetics, I will be replacing that as well. And last but not least, our AMD Ryzen 9 39X series processor. This is a 12-core 3.8 GHz with a 4.6 GHz max boost. This is also an AM4 socket type, which is why I went with the ROG STRIX 450. My old motherboard will not hold this processor, it's not compatible. So I had to upgrade the motherboard in order to make this work. And of course, since this is thank you very much, loud car. You're well heard. The reason why I went with the CPU because I need the extra cores for the editing station rather than gaming. If I wanted to do a gaming processor, I would have went with a Ryzen AMD 5. But with the Ryzen 9, I can do more with editing for my DaVinci Resolve. In case you guys are wondering, that's what I use to edit these videos. All right, we got our pieces together. Let's start with the build. All right, let's start with the motherboard. We got the ROG STRIX B450F gaming motherboard. Of course, not strictly for gaming, but it's going to be my everything. VR ready. So we're going to be using this box as our little platform to support the motherboard. Let's set that down for a second to help us not scratch it. And that's probably totally unsafe the way it is on my desk right now, but no matter. Let me take a second. So I would like to start with the RAM and then work my way to the processor, then cooler, and so forth. I'm going to be utilizing all 4 8GB RAM sticks, a total of 32 gigabytes. So when you enter these RAM sticks, you have to open the tabs first. Now on this particular motherboard, and I believe it's common with AM4s and up, is that it's only just one side of tabs that open on the motherboard. Now, commonly in the past, they would be on both sides, but these are just are slots. You just slot them in. These are not tabs. Now, when you insert these, you got to make sure you open the tabs first. Any motherboard before the AM4 usually had tabs on the other side as well, and you had to open those when you insert them. But on this particular one, for this model AM4 socket, it only does the one side, or maybe it's just with the Republic of Gamers ASUS motherboards. I'm not sure. I'm not really an expert when it comes to those. Now you can only insert these one way, and of course you don't want to have to force it. Could cause an issue. And you can't use these with a DDR3. These are DDR4. If I haven't already mentioned it before, and I probably already have. And these are going to be really cool. I like how they have the RGB included into the RAM sticks. It seems like RGB is becoming the norm, but the only problem with RGB is that it adds heat to the system. But fortunately, I don't predict the RAM sticks producing that much heat. And as soon as you try to slot them in, it would automatically push the tab up, and so you won't have to worry about it. But always make sure you look at the tabs to make sure that's inserted correctly. If it snaps in place and the tab engages to hold it in place, then you know you slotted it right. But if it's not, then you're going to have a bad day. The computer will simply not turn on, depending on how many RAM sticks are in there. If it's just the one and you only have it in there partially, then you're gonna have a problem. All right, we got our RAM sticks in place. Now let's see if we can get the processor plugged in. Okay, here's our Ryzen 9. So when you insert this processor, you make sure you gotta check the triangle. I know it's hard to see, but I've noticed with this new processor, they make it very tiny, right about there. That little gold dot right there, that's the triangle. It fooled me before, but I had to watch a video. I was like, are you kidding me? Before inserting the processor, lift the retention bar. Match the triangle with the motherboard's socket piece. And it just fits right in. And then once you got it in there nice and snug, make sure it doesn't move around. And close the tension bar. You always want to go slow when you insert these because you don't want to have to bend those pins. Our thermal paste of choice is going to be the TG-7 from Thermaltake. You only need to make a little small dab down the center. It doesn't require much as the cooler will spread it for you once you place it on top. I think that should be enough. All right, so I ran into a small bump. I can't use the cooler that I bought with my previous system on this motherboard. It's only good to up to about AM3 plus. So unfortunately, I gotta use the stock cooler that came with a processor. I'm hoping it's enough, but I quite doubt it. And guess we'll know once we get it all fired up. But at least I'll get some cool RGBs out of it. I'll have to do another video showing me inserting a new cooler. But for right now, we'll go with a stock cooler. I don't really care for these, but I have no choice at the moment. Make sure you do both sides and that they're pretty tight. I didn't notice this lever until now. That does help out a lot to help latch it onto the motherboard. Little tension bar right there. Pretty cool. I like that. This side unfortunately does not have it. I guess that's all that's needed. All right, once we get that plugged in, we can just plug in the header to the motherboard so it can receive its power and LED effects. I see one here that says CPU opt, OPT. I'm gonna go ahead and plug into that header right there. And that's it for now. Now we can go ahead and move on to putting it in our case. One of the cool things I like about the B450F motherboard is that it has the shield already included on the board. Now, you may or may not know that a lot of the motherboards in the past, they had the shield separate from the motherboard, and I can't tell you how many times I forgot to put one on, and you would have to remove the motherboard just to stick the shield right on there before you insert the motherboard. But on here, it's all in one. That's the way to do it. Placing this in there, just go very slowly, not to damage the corners of the board or any other components. Should they line up with the standoffs? Okay, so as I said, so there are 9 screws I gotta place in there. So I'm going to be using a hand drill. You guys can use a screwdriver, and I know you guys are going to hammer me in the comments that I should be using a screwdriver, not one of these, but I know how long I should hold the trigger and not damage the motherboard. I've been kind of doing this for a while. Alright, what I like about this is a little light there. Yeah. Alright, first screw, let's see how that goes. I'm going to start right here in the corner. I like to place them down in there before I screw them in. I wish this was magnetic, but you know, I don't know how that would damage the board. Okay, got one. Speed run. All right, we got our 8 screws in there. I said 9, but actually there's a point right here that helps you line up the board, and I counted that as part of the holes I need to screw in. So now that's secure. Now I can start connecting my cables for the hard drive and CD-ROM, and I got 2 drives for this computer. Doesn't matter which one I plug them into at this point, because the motherboard will figure out which one is the primary for my hard drive. Or if not, I can always tell the motherboard which one's the primary. But I try to keep them lined up as best I can. Next is going to be the power supply. Okay, before I can install it into the PC, I have to install it onto this bracket first. And then slide it right on in. Should just fit snugly on there like so. Just like that. All right, I think we're ready to install into the PC. And here we are. My PC never looked so good. Words cannot describe the difference in power, so I'll only say it in one word: amazing. Resolve never ran so much better. I mean, I can't even comprehend that this is possible. You will see some clips load longer than others, but it's not as noticeable prior to the upgrade. If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me on this venture. Please show how you feel about this video, and if you liked it, please smash that like button and smash it hard. Also, I'd like to invite you to hit that subscribe button and see you in the next one. Take care.